less you spend and the harder the ROI we can get on what you spend, that's how you're going to win. And that's why you're working with somebody who's going to help guide you through that. It's a really good way to sort of understand what we're trying to achieve right off the bat.
Yeah. And I think a good way to think about this as a buyer or a seller is when you look at new construction, so a custom build, and the builder has gone to the nines on finishes and flooring and hardware selection, tiling, and then you see the price tag. Sometimes they don't necessarily mirror the street or the neighborhood, and you know that the builder is trying to recoup costs with the price tag on the home. And that's when you know that they've overspent on their build. And we all know that it's almost impossible to stay within budget when you're doing a renovation, let alone a custom built house. But when there's an overspend from the builder's lens, then you know you always see that translate to the list price. And those properties often sit for a very long time. And I'll look at them and I'm like, they look kind of pretty, but they look really expensive for the area. And you know exactly what's going on. So it's a similar analogy in terms of just understanding about being humble with what you do to your home before you go to market.
Absolutely. I think those ones you're speaking of, and I showed one of those today, Kori, where a builder has picked up a little tiny tear down of a bungalow and built a 5,000 square foot. Everything's embossed in gold and glittery. And it's the only one on the street yet to look like that. And they're asking for 2.5, and it's a little too much too soon. It's over-gentrified way too fast. And they want to pull their profit out of that. So,
totally.
And people are not biting.
And an even bigger problem is, and it happens at all price points, but, I was out with a client and a good friend of mine, and we were looking at the $3.5 to $4 million range. And we're like, wow, that's the house is really nice. And I know they spent a lot, but I'm going to have to spend $30,000 or $40,000 to rip out these countertops because they're way too masculine and heavy and dark. And I want something lighter and space to feel lighter. And so once you start spending a lot of money on finishes, you start to run the risk of actually being counterproductive and turning off your clientele.
Totally, 100%. Yeah. And Toronto buyers are not that posh that way, if that makes sense. That super luxe, slick look where the home has been stripped of its character. And it's very glossy and a little selling sunset vibes going on. Isn't really the Toronto buyer.
Hey, don't knock selling sunset.
It's just not the Toronto buyer.
Realistic. It's so
realistic. Yeah, it's totally realistic. So
downtown Toronto.
But I think that the buyer in Toronto, it doesn't really speak to our marketplace very well. I think people really want heart and soul in their homes. And so when they are stripped and then all those glossy finishes go in and you see the gold trim and some chandeliers and it's just a little bit much music video kind of vibes. I don't feel like that speaks to the buyer
Blingy.
pool. Yeah, bling.
Blingy.
That's the word I'm looking at. Bling is not our buyer here. So for any builders listening to this, we don't do bling here. We do subtle lux.
We don't do purple ceiling lights in coffered ceilings.
Yeah.
We just don't do that.
We don't.
I want a comfortable place to watch TV with the family. Yeah. No LED, changeable LED lighting in the crown molding.
No.
Save that for your Lamborghini.
I've seen that a lot actually in those new builds. I'm like, God, this is terrible.
Becoming a trend or a scourge. I don't know, but it doesn't belong in the 416.
It does not belong